Today's event, though, really got kicked off a couple of years ago when Secretary Teague's office asked to do some town halls all around the state where there were holes in the infrastructure areas. And this was one of them, going out of north of Oklahoma. We didn't have infrastructure going this direction. So about 2 years ago, the Secretary's office said, let's do some town halls. We'll get fleets converting. We'll also get partners in infrastructure interested in doing CNG. And 2 years later, I'm proud to say we have a station here in northern Oklahoma as we lead the state. So thank you as well, Secretary, for your leadership in helping develop these sites. But lest anyone not understand, we are not done. We have a long ways to go in this state. So we are putting sites on the ground, but there's a lot of opportunity, and there's still a lot of areas where we need more infrastructure and we need new stations to help develop out the network of sites around the state. So before we get started, I'd also like to just thank a few people for coming. And first, let me thank Secretary of Energy and Environment, Michael T. Say hi. And Tom Robbins. Sorry. Tom Robbins, the Deputy Secretary of Energy. Thank you both for coming. We also have the Department of Labor and Commissioner Houston here as well, and a couple of her staff back here. So thank you guys as well for coming. I also have several people from the City of Billings, and thank you guys for being here. We have Mayor John Panic, Zelda, and Rick Parks. Thank you guys. I appreciate you coming out today. And of course, I wouldn't be up here standing without my team at OnCue. I work for one of the best companies in the state of Oklahoma. Jim, Bart, Bob, Steve, Doug, Tommy, thank you guys for allowing me to represent OnCue and the CNG team at OnCue. Thank you. All right, so OnCue didn't do this alone. OnCue, we have 20 sites now serving natural gas, but there's over 100 locations throughout the state. And so I'd like to thank some of my partners around the state in other infrastructure developers. So first, Tom Sewell of Tulsa Gas Technologies, thank you for everything you've done and the stations you've put on the ground. I appreciate your support and the sites you have out there. Loves has a lot of sites around the state as well. Tom Kirby is here representing Loves. Thank you very much. Spark Natural Gas, Norman Herrera, thank you for what you're doing for this state. Actually, a lot of what I learned was from Norman, so I appreciate the time you've put into me over the years, and thank you for being here today. And of course, Oklahoma Natural Gas, with more actual stations on the ground in the state than anyone else. Oklahoma Natural Gas has several people, so if you would just raise your hands real fast. Thank you guys for being out here as well. And they also spent a lot of time helping us get a pipeline to this site where we could install natural gas. It took a while, but we got the pipe, and we have a great station because of it. And as well, we got some vehicles behind us here. After the presentation, they're going to be showing off the vehicles. Justin Seckman with Heartland. Where did Justin? Justin's back here. Justin, thank you for coming out. You guys are welcome to see those vehicles, answer questions. If you're questioning if you should put CNG in your fleet, he's the guy to ask those questions of. So Justin, thanks for coming out. So my first introduction, I want to introduce Representative John Pfeiffer. He just finished his first full session in our Capitol a few weeks ago. He's a big supporter of natural gas as well as the natural resources in the state. But just a real quick funny story, not funny story, but a great story. When I called to confirm that he was going to be here the other day, he didn't answer. He called me back a few hours later and said, I apologize, I was in the middle of a field baling hay. I can promise you that's not something we hear from many legislators in Oklahoma City. So, John, thank you for coming out.
Thank you all for coming out to the beautiful 38th District. And being trapped in a field with no cell phone reception is a pretty common problem out here. You know, I haven't seen this many people gathered together till the custom harvesters came through here a couple weeks ago to put up another great crop of wheat here. You know, natural gas is very important to the state of Oklahoma, and being in the Capitol the last 2 years, they use a lot of words that we don't use a whole lot. Billings or Baja, Orlando, places like that, and they talk about things like synergy, which people had to explain to me what that was. Back home, we just say, well, it's a good idea and it'll work. Basically, getting things that work together, synergizing things. A good Oklahoma product that's produced here in Oklahoma, that's sold through great Oklahoma companies, that's used to benefit the drivers and the people of Oklahoma to help them save money. At the Capitol, and people who are a lot smarter and fancier than I am call it synergy. Back here we just say it's a dang good idea. It's very helpful to rural Oklahoma and the people that drive up and down our roads. We're very happy to be able to, that the governor had the foresight to want to put in a to set the goal to have a CNG gas station every 100 miles so that people can continue to save money, that people can continue to travel our roads safely and efficiently and economically. So again, thank you all for coming out here today, and please spend lots of time and money here in the great 38th District. Thank you.
All right. Next I'd like to introduce Labor Commissioner Melissa McLaughlin-Houston. I always want to get my syllables mixed up here, so thank you for coming out. Actually, just to kind of give the background on why the Department of Labor is here today, in 2014 legislation was passed that allowed the Department of Labor oversight of alternative fuels. That includes natural gas, propane, electric. I know that OnCue, as well as many other retailers, work very closely with the Department of Labor, helping set and create new regulations, as well as how to administer those regulations. And they continue to ensure the safety of Oklahomans and the CNG industry. Commissioner Houston was appointed in 2015. Prior to joining the Department of Labor, she served as the Chief of Staff for the Oklahoma Attorney General and for the Oklahoma Office of Homeland Security. So it is my great pleasure to introduce Commissioner Houston.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to be here today. Thank you for having the Department of Labor. We have several members of our team that are out here and are on site on CNG sites all the time. That's what they do. So I think it is wonderful to be here, and thank you to the governor for her commitment to this industry, which really is growing across the state of Oklahoma, and the Department of Labor is so excited to be a part of that. We really view it as a partnership. It really is a great example of government and industry coming together to decide what are some sensible regulations that make sense for the state, that in a way that are not hindering business, but are also making sure that the safety of the public is protected, which is something we all believe in. So it is a great example of reasonable regulation and a wonderful partnership. I hope you'll take the opportunity to see our great vehicle back here that I know John spends a lot of time in, coming out and making sure that the pumps are calibrated so our businesses aren't losing any money, and making sure they're properly calibrated. So thank you again for the opportunity. Great example of a partnership between government and industry, and we're pleased to be a part of it. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Now, the next person I'd like to introduce is actually my boss. I brought 6 pages of notes here to make sure that I give all the right comments about him. But since it's warm, I just want to say a few things about my boss, Jim Griffith. He's a man that I deeply respect. He has built a great company and is continuing to build a great company right here in Oklahoma. And he empowers the people like me, employees at OnCue, to always do the right thing and to make customers happy doing it. So I'd like to bring up Jim Griffith. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for coming out today. My name is Jim Griffith. I'm the CEO of OnCue, and I'm very happy to be here celebrating the finishing out of the infrastructure of CNG in the state of Oklahoma. As Scott said, a lot of people played a big part in this, and I thank all of you. OnCue today has 20 CNG locations. We are opening our 21st next month at I-40 and Council in Oklahoma City, and we'll have another one or two coming on before the year's over. So we're definitely behind the CNG. I want to recognize one person of our team that has been instrumental in CNG with OnCue, and that's our CFO, Steve James. Steve. Wave a hand. Steve has been the guiding force for us in our commitment to CNG, and we thank you for it. Today's kind of bittersweet for me because there's two people that were very instrumental in OnCue's success in being a leader in CNG. The bitter part is that today one of them isn't here to help us celebrate. This person played a huge role in OnCue's entering the CNG business, and he had a vision for where CNG could be in the state of Oklahoma. And Aubrey, we miss you. The sweet part for me today is that the other person responsible for CNG in this state is here with us today to help us celebrate. I can assure you that we would not be here today if this person had not taken the lead in laying out a plan to take this Oklahoma fuel and make it available for all Oklahomans. If CNG was to be a fuel that made sense, it had to have availability throughout our state. If there were places to buy fuel, people would be willing to convert their vehicles to this low-cost, clean, and plentiful fuel. Today, Oklahoma leads the way in CNG because of the vision of Governor Mary Fallin. I could go on and on about the accomplishments of Mary, but it's hot. And unless you've been living under a rock for the last several decades, I would only be telling you something that you already know. So please join me in welcoming the governor of the great state of Oklahoma, Governor Mary Fallin.
Good morning. It's still morning and it's already hot. Thank you very much, Jen. We appreciate you hosting us here at your wonderful site. Especially excited to see your dog park. My staff told me to bring some of my dogs today, but I didn't. But I'll remember that you have a dog park here. It's kind of a fun thing to have here. I wanted to say something about OnCue and to thank you for your investment in the state of Oklahoma. 50 years?
Yes, 50 years.
50 years this year of service and employing almost 900 plus people in our state. I don't know how many millions of dollars of investment, but a lot of millions of dollars of investment and ongoing, which we appreciate. It's families that you support in our state, the jobs that you provide, and certainly the investment in providing the infrastructure across our state for the traveling public and for the business community to be able to find the services, certainly the CNG gas and gasoline and the services that you provide at OnCue. We really appreciate that and so proud to have 65 so stores in our state, which are a lot of stores too, and adding, as you just heard. So thank you, Jen, first of all, and your employees for the great service that you provide. As my staff knows, you will frequently find me at an OnCue that happens to be a couple blocks from where I live right now in public housing down the street. But I always enjoy going to the OnCues. You know, we're here today to celebrate a very important milestone in the state of Oklahoma, and one that I am very, very proud of, and that is reaching a goal, having a plan, and being able to implement that plan in our state to have our 100-mile milestone of having CNG available to the traveling public, not only here in Oklahoma, but throughout the nation. And I want you to know, I had the opportunity to visit with a lot of people across the nation, even the president at times and others. And Oklahoma is recognized as the leader in the nation, as the #1 state when it comes to CNG promotion, Tom, as you know, and many others here. And to be the state that has a plan that has implemented it to be able to utilize one of our greatest resources in our state, and that is natural gas. Something that is very, very valuable. It's a clean form of energy. It's an abundant form of energy. It's an Oklahoma-produced form of energy. It's an American form of energy, which is something that we all think is important to our nation, especially for economic development, frankly, in my point of view, national security, is that we utilize American-made energy. So I'm very proud that Oklahoma has taken it upon itself to produce the right business climate, the right regulatory climate, to pass representative the right type of legislation over the last decade that would make it economical and also a business environment where the private sector and even the public sector utilities could come and invest and help us build one of the greatest networks across the nation of infrastructure for CNG, to have a station every 100 miles for us to be able to encourage CNG use in our state. And of course, that's been a very important part of Oklahoma's energy plan. And when I came into office back in 2011, of course, I knew that energy is one of our top industries in our state. It's an abundant resource that we're very fortunate to have, but we literally did not have a comprehensive energy plan in Oklahoma. We had different ideas, we had different pieces of legislation, but no one had ever taken a look at the whole state of all the resources and what I call an all the above energy strategy and develop a plan of action. And I have to give our former Secretary of Energy, Mike Mee, the credit for doing that, because he was very, very good. I am very blessed to have a second great Secretary of Energy, and Colonel Michael T., who is our Secretary of Energy and Environment, who has done a tremendous amount of work in helping us promote the right regulatory environment, the right type of development, and certainly partnerships between the private sector and the public sector. So, Secretary T., thank you for being here too. And to our Labor Commissioner, we appreciate all that you've done at the corporation, the Labor Commission. Corporation Commission helps you. Labor Commission, to make sure that we do the things we're supposed to be doing here, and certainly the legislature deserves that credit. And Mayor, congratulations.
Yeah.
This is a big deal to you, and the community of Billings certainly does have a wonderful history and past with our former wonderful Governor Henry Bellman, who was a very close friend of mine. We would get together about once a quarter and just have lunch when he was still around, so he was a great, great guy. Now let me just talk to you about a couple of things. It is important that we have a plan, and not just have a plan that we put on a shelf, but that we have goals and that we implement that. And it wouldn't have been possible without all the partners that have been mentioned earlier today. Thank you so much for mentioning them, both in the private sector and the public sector. Secretary Teague has done a good job working with his team at the Department of Energy to hold town hall meetings across our state to see what else we need to do to make sure that we know where we're at in our implementation of our plan, and to help us continue to set bold goals for Oklahoma. And this should not be the end of our goals just because we now have a fill station every 100 miles, but we need to continue to encourage the use of CNG for our state. And it's important because, as I said, it's a clean source of energy, it's an Oklahoma produced source of energy, but frankly it saves us money. And if you look at how much money we have saved since the state of Oklahoma started putting in CNG vehicles into our state fleet system, which I said was a goal many, many years ago. I think we have 1,300 plus vehicles, cars, and trucks in our state fleet system. And back a couple of years ago, when we remember the old days when gasoline was $4 a gallon or $3 something a gallon, and natural gas was much, much less. I mean, it made a huge difference in helping us save money for the state of Oklahoma, and of course the private sector, who also own CNG vehicles, and of course even companies like UPS and AT&T and Oklahoma State University, just to mention a few, who also started putting in CNG vehicles into their fleet systems. And I'll also mention county commissioners. You know, they've been very much on board with us in helping us put in some fill stations at some of the county fill stations that they have with their barns across the state of Oklahoma. So by all of us working together as a group with the private sector companies, the utilities that have helped us build up the infrastructure, certainly helped us with conversion of our vehicles, or helped us encourage, even at the time I went to Detroit years ago, to encourage the OEMs to be able to build more CNG original equipment manufactured vehicles for our nation, has made a difference. And so it's fun for Oklahoma to be a leader, and something that I think is very important not only for our state, but very important for the nation. can help our state, our private sector save money and certainly be able to use a clean, abundant form of energy in Oklahoma. So, Jim, we appreciate OnCue. We appreciate all the other private sector companies that are represented here today. Just mentioned a couple. ONG certainly has been a big partner with us. Love's Country Stores has been huge in helping us get to this point today. Spark has also been very instrumental. Easy Go, 7-Eleven, Tulsa Gas Technologies, Tom, we appreciate all that you've done. And there are probably many others, I hope I don't forget some of them, but to all of you that have made this day possible, that have helped do something wonderful and great for the state of Oklahoma, thank you for your investment, thank you for your boldness, and thank you for helping to make this day possible. It's great to be here with you today, Bill.
Appreciate you coming out today, and I know that you have a meeting to get to in Oklahoma City very quickly here, but as we conclude, we do have donuts, coffee, and water on the back table. I failed to mention two companies. Of course, Tom Sewell also converts a lot of vehicles, especially on the eastern side of the state. He's probably seen more vehicles in Tulsa than anyone anyone else. And Blake Burge back here on the phone with OEM Systems as well, and he's going to have a truck to display as well, a little bit heavier truck. We'll be doing a tour of the compression site. If anyone would like to see what 500 horsepower of compression looks like, we'd love to have you come back behind the wall and check that out as well. But thank you to everyone who has sat with us today through the heat, and again, thank you for being here. Appreciate it.